Hi, my name's Paul Boyden. I'm a clinical psychologist working for the Brent Psychology Service in London. And I'm here today to talk about the biosocial theory. So this is a theory that is a really useful explanation for anybody who might struggle with emotion dysregulation, emotional sensitivity, and may or may not have a diagnosis of complex PTSD or borderline personality disorder. And today I'm going to be talking about a theory that helps us to understand why emotions might be really difficult to regulate and how we might sometimes find solutions to coping with those that might actually be causing us harm in the long term. So some people are born into environments that might be invalidating, and by that I mean that when someone has an emotion, it might mismatch with the response they get from people around them, such as friends, caregivers and other people that are in the family. So for example, someone might be emotional and then the response from the other person might be, oh, just get over it, or big boys don't cry, or you're constantly overreacting, you don't need to be feeling this way. That's a very invalidating response. And what that leads us to do is to not really know what to do with our emotions in response to that, or how to cope with them, or even how to label or name them and know what they are. So a lot of people will say that as they grow up, emotional pain can be just as painful as physical pain. And that's where the term emotional sensitivity comes in, as in that, it's almost like pricking the skin will be as hard as feeling that emotional pain. And in fact, it can even feel like your skin is on fire. So there is a theory that can be really helpful that people say to me, this is a really good explanation to kind of make sense of why this is really difficult, but also leading to thinking about what can be done about that, because there is always things that can be done to help. So I'm going to show you a brief graph now that will explain what might happen when someone is feeling emotional pain. So for a lot of people, if we think about a graph where at the bottom we have T for time, and then on this side we have the strength of the emotion. For a lot of people, when something happens here, it would normally be an experience of something that kind of activates the fear center in the brain, which is known as the amygdala. And so the emotion will come up, and understandably over time it will go down. And we can experience that emotion for different amounts of time, but let's say, for example, it might be 30 to 40 minutes on this particular example. So if I was driving my car and I felt like someone was cutting me off quite a bit and driving a bit recklessly, I might start to experience a fear emotion. And that might last for quite a while. And in fact, I might then have a secondary emotion such as anger, because I'm starting to get really angry. But primary emotion would be fear. But if it got to the point where it kept on happening, I might get so angry, the intensity up here is where I'm kind of in the danger zone. And what happens is that when I'm in the danger zone, I might start to not be able to rationalize, I might not be able to think very clearly. But what we do know, and I might need to do some problem solving, but the emotion will come down, because biologically emotions have to come down. And that's why you have lots of different emotions, such as fear, happiness, joy, sadness, anger. They always come and they always pass. That's the good news. But for some people, they will say, actually, my experience would be very different. They might say the emotion of fear might go up fast, like extremely fast and a lot quicker. And then what will happen is it will stay there for quite some time. And it will come down, but it will be a slow return to the baseline of how you were doing before the incident occurred. And the problem is, if for that person, they might be in the danger zone for a lot longer. So it's high, it's intense, it's for a lot longer. And like I said earlier, when you're in the danger zone, you kind of feel like you can't think clearly. You just don't know what to do. You don't know how to problem solve. So often we need someone else to give us some instructions on what to do. So this is kind of the theory for what might happen with someone with emotional sensitivity. So this is the graph that kind of explains that emotions come up really quick, stay there for quite some time, and it takes a lot longer for it to come back down. And there are things that we're going to need to do in there. And that's why in our other videos in DBT, we explain there are things you can do for each step of this. The first step is we need to kind of know, where are we on this graph? And we can only really do that if we practice and harness our skills of mindfulness, of being able to be more mindful and practice, being able to notice where we are, how we feel, label that emotion and know what's going on. And to be able to do that, we also need to know how to manage this part here, which is where we're in the danger zone, and that is where DBT introduces us to something called distress tolerance. And these are another set of skills which helps us to manage to get through the moment, to survive the crisis, rather than trying to sort of just wait for it to pass. Because the problem is that for some people, they will have found some coping mechanism or solution that might have actually been working, because as human beings, we all want to know what to do to get rid of any kind of pain, physical or emotional. But those solutions might include things such as cutting, or it could be self-harming, it could be suicidal behaviours, or sexualised behaviours that are unsafe, or substance misuse. There could be a range of things, and actually, of course, those things will bring the emotion down a lot quicker. But the problem is that the long-term problem will be that those things will actually become things like addictions or scars on the body, or even risk our health for the longer term. So we kind of need to come up with a set of other skills. Mindfulness and distress tolerance are two of those. The third one is emotion regulation. So we kind of need to know how to regulate our emotion, because if we can't regulate our emotion, we're going to be really confused and we will be constantly in that sense of threat and fear. So we kind of need to know what is our emotion and how do we regulate it? What can I do? The fourth thing is that sometimes at the very beginning, the fear might be set off not so much by something that's happened. It could be through interpersonal problems. It could be something to do with our relationship. It could be something that a colleague has said, a boss has said, a family member, or even a passerby on the street. So at this point, we kind of need to know how do we interact with people in a way that respects the relationship, make sure that we learn how to say no when we don't want to really do something, or how do we get our needs met in a respectful, civilised way. And so we need another set of skills here called interpersonal effectiveness. So interpersonal skills are also really, really useful. So there's a set of skills, lots of things that can happen that can, when you put it all together, can really, really help us to regulate our emotion. And this is the biosocial theory that largely underpins the DBT treatment method for people who've got emotional sensitivity, complex PTSD, or borderline personality disorder. I hope this video is really helpful, and I hope it's a way that might make you think a little bit about what's been going on for you, and might even motivate you to think about getting straight into learning some DBT skills, of which you can find many on our YouTube channel. And that's all for today, and I hope that's helpful. Thank you very much.